Hello everyone, it's Pat here again, and welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator on the VATSIM network. I've not yet connected to the VATSIM network, so we have a little bit of preparation work here still to do for this flight. We're on the ground here, currently in Raleigh. We're going to be heading tonight up to LaGuardia. So we are currently on the ground. The fun part with this flight is I don't expect ATC again. There is no ATC currently online for Raleigh, nor for LaGuardia, and technically LaGuardia in real life is actually closed overnight, which makes this mildly interesting as we can't even actually use the proper ATIS information. We can at least make guesstimates for which way we should be landing, and other information like that at least. So, right now we have a little bit of prep work to do. I'm going to grab my flight number and update Atlanta real quick. We might not be landing runway 13 if the winds continue this way. Currently the winds in LaGuardia are... let's actually bring up the current METAR. They are 060 at 13. Which means we're landing runway 13, we would have a 13-knot crosswind. Which is extremely painful. We can do it. It's not going to be pretty, though. But we are going to be flying, the flight number today will be Delta 5236. We again are continuing with the Delta hubs. Atlanta is 5236. 5236. Updated there. So Atlanta's updated. We're going to come over here to the flight bag and we're going to grab our flight plan from SimBrief. With that, we begin our full setup here. While that is prepping, we will come up top and begin flipping everything over. Packs off. I need to go grab from SimBrief, I need to grab our cruise altitude tonight. Our cruise altitude for tonight is flight level 370. This will be a little over an hour all said and done. At least once we get in the air, it should be a little over an hour. That prep finishing. I'm going to come over to vPilot and enter in the flight number and connect us. 5236. Connect. And that's our auto ATC. Squawk code will be 6575. Go to that mode. Here, activate, execute. Do perform init. Expecting flight level 370. That did not take all the characters. Can take 2 tons, and we're doing cost mix 45 again. I'm not going to worry about N1 limits. Takeoff will go to departure. We are going to be taking 5 right. On the XGO 5 departure. Boozy transition. Execute. I'm going to hold off setting up anything for arrival. I'm going to monitor that wind in Navigraph at LaGuardia before we do anything there. Takeoff flaps will be 5. Gives us a 148 for V2. So we'll be just shy of 160 on the throttle. Actually, now we'll be just shy of 165. And that's set. Legs. We're fine with going up to hertz. Now we're going to come over here. Bring up performance tool. 5 right. Niner. Which, for some reason, seems to put us underground. I've seen a lot of that lately. Hit that button. 514. Okay. So we are all slot up down there. Arm the flight directors. I'm actually going to double check one thing real quick with the runways, just to see which runway is actually going to be better. It looks like I'm going to switch us to landing on runway 4. Looks like we can still use the crowd 2. ILS4, crowd 2, hertz. The reason I'm doing this is, at this point, if these winds remain, and I don't necessarily expect them to change too much in the next hour, a 13-knot crosswind will not be pleasant for landing. It'll be doable, but it won't be pleasant, and it's not an actual operational airport currently, because they actually don't do departures or arrivals into LaGuardia at night in real life, which is the fun part here. So I'm actually going to God mode us to daytime, actually. We're gonna do, yeah, let's do like 6 o'clock. For the sake of a little bit more realism here. And let's see, what are these transitions? We got Benji. Bears might work better. I'm gonna see where our crowd 2 takes us then. Crowd takes us to crowd. Which I don't know where crowd is compared to Benji or Vera's. I'm gonna do this. We will execute it. And we will go to this here. Actually, I have another way of checking this here. Ew. I have a solution to this. I found where the issue is going to come in. Vera's. We don't even need to do renew. We're going to get rid of renew. We're just going to execute that. Okay. Problem solved. That'll work. Okay. So that is our flight plan sorted. arm VNav LNav. Should all arm, I said arm LNav. Why are you not arming? Huh. I'm happy with that. Everything so far looks good. That does not change. We will have to do some weird shenanigans to make this work. I have hand flown this plane before. It's not fun, but it's doable. I guess we will work on that some more in a minute. Because this is, for reference for those who do not know, this is the PMDG 737-800. Take a little bit more look at this here. Whether the altimeter is, what is the altimeter according to the current METAR? 29er, 9er, 9er. But the runway altitude is definitely not 380. Somewhere in between these two, okay. Turn on that. Come on, there we go. Let's go to menu, office actions. Release the jetway, release that, remove the chocks. Arm the parking brake. Get rid of auto ATC here. I'm going to grab our CTAF frequency because we are now at our expected off the block. We're at KRDU. Is 12745. Setup. I'm going to set up 122.8. We should be ready to go here. Raleigh ground at Delta 5236, pushing back at gate. Yes, I forget which gate I'm at. Gate Charlie 22, facing east, Raleigh.
Cockpit to ground.
Don't have a choice of which way to turn.
We've been cleared to
Still
push back and start.
no.
They want the tail to our left.
So that, awesome.
Push tail to the left. Park brakes off.
AP bleed on.
Brakes released.
Right engine start.
Brakes released. Here we go.
And we'll see if the autopilot continues to fight us, or at least LNAV. I should be able to arm it on the ground, and I should be able to arm it even without auto throttle. And I don't need to have minimum set. I should set my landing altitude. As right now we're going to expect... Which runway did I grab for? Which is elevation, essentially. actually 0, so we'll go 0. That's set. Right engine run. We're almost done with the pushback at least. I should grab the rest of the ILS stuff for LaGuardia. Minimums are, for rate for barometric, are 283. Good start on the right engine, left engine start.
Complete. Burn brake, please. Brake set.
I've got to get these guys turned on.
Steering pin is pulled.
Generator on.
Salute release from guidance on your right. Have a good flight.
Left engine run. And then what's the ILS frequency? 1105. Oh, awesome. Perfect. It's already preset. So we're just waiting on this engine to start. Good at start on the left engine. Generator on. APU off. Taxi light on. Let's go PAX on. Anything else up top? I don't see anything. Okay. Let's get this over to... I wish that pushback had been a little bit less. Not been quite as far. We didn't need to go that far. Well, we're going to have a simple taxi. Foxtrot, Delta Alpha. And I think hold at Alta 2. Raleigh ground, Delta 5236, taxiing to runway 5 right via Foxtrot, Delta Alpha, Alpha 2, hold at Alpha 2, Raleigh. And so let's get this show on the roll. As I said, hopefully LNAV decides to play nice, but we'll be able to do this regardless. Let's maybe get over there. I would like to set flaps. Flaps 2 will work for the moment. I don't need it at flaps 5 just yet. And that should work for doing flaps 5. I do not want to forget the flaps. I've done that before. It makes the takeoffs rather difficult. Also, it means that you can't use the toga button. And this thing, the 7.3s really do not like corners like this. Where actual pilots make it look really easy to taxi. I would have almost been better off with that taxiway there, which I don't have the chart looking at the right spot to see what taxiway that is. But I want this one, just for the shorter taxi. A little more power now that we're straightening out this part of the taxi. It's also very bumpy on the ground. That I kind of have to question on the scenery, if it's really this not level. Oh great, a train glitch. that wasn't too bad at least. I've never been to Raleigh, so I don't know if this is actually how this taxiway is. I can tell you that one, like, ledge is not actually a thing. This is not as bad as O'Hare, because I actually flew a Cargo 73 into O'Hare the other day. And O'Hare is just... oh my... For whatever reason, the designers, the actual real-life designers at O'Hare really love changing the taxiway layout. So this is actually... so this is Flight Sim 2020. It has the taxiway layouts for the default sceneries is actually what it was in 2020. The chart I'm using is for today. This becomes a problem for airports like O'Hare that they just go, oh, we're gonna rearrange these taxiways, and they do that almost every year. So you're like, oh, I'm gonna taxi via Papa, Delta Delta, Bravo, Uniform, Golf Mike, November, I'm done. Turns out that Uniform doesn't actually exist in 2020, or at least the portion of Uniform you're planning to use doesn't even exist in 2020. So you can't actually use that taxiway, and you actually have to cross yet another runway. It's just ridiculous. Okay, now we'll all have arm, maybe? Nope. We will do heading select. Maybe once we're airborne I can get LNAV to actually play nice. It's just kind of fun that it is LNAV that's the one that's decided, no, I don't want to play nice. Oh great, we're gonna run into the same issue here because that's actually a entrance point that's not on the chart. There should be an entrance point about here that is a 90-degree left. So is Alpha 2 gonna actually be there? I hope it is. Regardless, this is still vastly better than O'Hare. O'Hare also had terrain glitches galore. Yes, Alpha 2 is right where it should be. Mark says Bravo yet again, but it's right where it should be. Alright. Oh, I love the taxiway sign in the middle of the taxiway. Raleigh traffic, Delta 5236, lining up runway 5 right at Bravo, or Alpha 2, Raleigh. So let's go ahead and line up here and then finish setup here. I'm really looking forward to Flight Sim 2024, especially after all the stuff that came out the other day. Because they did just a few days ago do a final reveal for everything, as well as open up the pre-orders. I will definitely be flying in it right away. I actually have it pre-installed. I just have to wait for it to unlock on the 19th of November. There's a lot of neat additions into it. It'll be nice having a true 737 Max in the game. So let's arm auto throttle, come up top, landing lights, runway turnoffs, taxis off. Nope, we want logo. We want that on. Nope, wrong way. There we go. Anything else down here? No. Take off. Can I get all nav to arm? Nope. Okay. We should be as set as we are to go without all nav. Raleigh traffic. Delta 5236 taking off runway 5 right, flying the Bexgo 5 departure. Raleigh. So go. V1.
V1. Rotate.
Rotate. Ooh, yeah.
Positive rate of
Positive rate of climb. Gear coming up. Oh, now you'll arm. First notch flaps, or apparently we'll just go flaps up. Okay, that works too. Traffic on, weather radar on. Give it a 3,000 foot call out in a moment. Raleigh traffic Delta 5236 through 3,000 feet, clear of 5 right. Raleigh, last call. Let's get off that frequency and let's begin our flight towards LaGuardia. So, about a little over an hour in air is expected. Did adjust our flight plan just a little bit in order to better account for the winds in New York right now. Probably not actually going to be going over Manhattan Island as a result. It's kind of the fun part for a lot of these approaches into LaGuardia is they prep you to be landing in a northeastbound direction, but in some cases you can end up with that southeastbound landing, which means that you end up having to go actually over downtown Manhattan before turning short final, or before turning final with maybe like 10 miles to spare. We're not going to be doing that in this case just because of the winds. Now, if we do get ATC that comes online in New York, we will listen to them instead of whatever I've got preset here. I did God mode it to daytime here just because LaGuardia does not actually operate flights at night. They're one of the few airports that I typically fly into or out of that does not operate nighttime flights. Big reason for that is LaGuardia, while it is an international airport, as of today, it's primarily used as a secondary hub in New York City by most of the big 4 airlines in the United States, if they even operate into it. And how they operate as secondary hubs, they primarily fly narrow bodies like the 737 or the A320s. into and out of there. As a result, they're primarily flying domestic flights. You do get some international flights, mostly to and from Canada, but there's a lot less going on there. A lot of that narrow body and regional traffic goes to LaGuardia rather than to Kennedy or Newark. As a result, Kennedy and Newark do typically have later flight times because they do have a lot more wide bodies, and those are the planes that are typically arriving and departing early in the morning and late at night. So we are currently on our climb. Cruising altitude is flight level 370 tonight. I'm just happy that LNAV decided to finally arm. We do have everything preset for our arrival into LaGuardia. Currently, VPilot shows nobody online, which I'm currently expecting. Hopefully, with the time I pre-selected here, we do end up with a, twilight landing in New York. So, at this point, we're just climbing up to our cruising altitude. We're going to be cruising at, looks like, since I did properly set the cost index for this flight, we're going to be getting Mach 0.792 from VNAV. Now, I did mention Microsoft and Asobo did actually release more information on, as well as open pre-orders for Flight Sim 2024. That is coming out in just under 2 months now. It's on the 19th of November. This tour will officially end that following weekend. That's when the last flight is. That flight will be Austin to Atlanta. I'm going to continue just doing one of these a week. I'm going to be keeping them to about the same time. That will be the goal. If anything changes with my schedule, then I will amend that. But as of right now, I'm expecting to do this Sunday nights around 2 a.m. Eastern time. And this should go until, again, just that Sunday night after the 19th. Which will be the Austin to Atlanta leg. And that leg, as I mentioned, that will be the return home leg for this airframe. So remaining flights from here, we're going to be going into LaGuardia. After LaGuardia, we will be departing, next week we'll be departing LaGuardia for Cincinnati. I do have a custom scenery. It's actually a freeware one from flightsim.to for Cincinnati. Big reason for that is Cincinnati is kind of lackluster in the stock scenery. There's actually a lot of the gates. The terminals exist and the concourses exist, but for whatever reason, it doesn't give you the gates. It only gives you like 2 or 3 gates at the one concourse, which there's closer to 20 gates there. It also does not have the Amazon cargo ramp on the south end of the field, because that was built after 2020. After that, we're going to be going to Boston and finishing out the East Coast. After Boston, we're going to start working our way west. We'll be Detroit, Minneapolis, Salt Lake City, Seattle, Tacoma. Then we finally start working our way back with LAX and Austin. There may also be a stream coming up in just under a month, on the 19th of October. I'm currently planning to participate in the Across the Pond event on the 19th. I still have to work out some of the logistics for that. I don't actually know where I'm flying to or from at this point, because how that works is you sign up for that on the VATSIM website, or when I say sign up, you express your interest. They then, on the 4th of October, actually give you a time slot to select your actual time slot for the flight. The upcoming Across the Pond, it will be from we'll be going eastbound, so it'll be from North America, airports such as Newark, Boston, Toronto, and Winnipeg, to airports like Heathrow and Amsterdam in Europe. Those are some very long flights. Those can easily be, based on my stuff, on what I've calculated with these, they can easily be 6+ hours, depending on the two airports in question. Okay, what is that about? Hold on a moment here. Why does Flight Sim think I've lost internet? Flight Sim thinks I've lost internet. Streamlabs says no. VPilot says no. Yeah, I don't know what that was. Okay, Microsoft, you are doing funny things. Not sure what that little stuttering is either, but we'll be fine. Now, if it wasn't for the fact that a lot of these flights, especially on the East Coast, are about an hour long, I would do a second flight after this one. I might, one of these days, especially if we get another shorter flight like this one, might try and find an E-Jet flight to do. I still need to actually install a Delta livery for the E-175, because I do have a handful of those pre-registered in Volanta. So for those who don't fully know what those are, the E-Jets, they are the Embraer regional jets. They're the modern ones. The ones I have, it's the E-170 and E-175. They're two of the 4 E-Jet models. There's actually another set, the E2 series, which is, again, the 170, 175, 190, and 195. But these are the E2 variants. I do not have the E2s. I do not have the 190 or the 195. The 170 and 175 are very popular in the United States with regional carriers. They're smaller, narrow-body aircraft. They seat about 70 people. For the most part, though, a lot of the regionals are actually phasing out the regionals. These are going to be companies like SkyWest, Republic, and then the subsidiaries like Endeavor and Envoy are actually, a lot of these are phasing out the E-170, although American Airlines and Envoy and under the American Eagle brand are going to be operating the E-170. They're going to be the only one of the big 3, or the big 4, that which 3 of them use regionals. They'll be operating the E-170. Which is funny because the Flight Sim Studios Embraers, while they do come with a good array of liveries, the E-170 is the only one that comes with a Delta livery. Which is funny because Delta connections will soon only be operating in CRJs and the E-175. And they're getting rid of those E-170s. Now, as for the E-190s and 195s, and then the E2s, no North America, or no US carrier at least, operates any of these. Reason is, all of the American Airlines here, actually have scope clauses that, with their pilots, that prevent them from actually having aircraft over a certain takeoff weight operate as regional jets. The E2 series, even the E170 E2, is over that takeoff, that MTO by like 5,000 pounds. Meaning it cannot be flown in the United States outside the mainline carriers. And the mainline carriers do not want the E-jets themselves. And the same thing goes with the E190s. They're, again, too big for the scope clause. Only the mainlines can operate them. About the smallest things the mainlines are willing to run are the A220s, which are bigger than the E2s, and the E190s. And they're also willing to run the 717s, which are also bigger. The A220s and this... Actually, let me pull it up, because I actually have Delta's app, because they're the one airline I typically fly with. And they do operate both the 71 and the A220. The A220 100, which is the smaller of the two, can seat 109 passengers with Delta. 300 can seat 130. And the similarly sized 717-200 can seat 110. So, regardless, if they wanted to operate a plane of that kind of caliber with the ranges associated, they kind of want to operate those. The problem comes that you have airlines like SkyWest. SkyWest only operates regionals, and they pretty much only operate with the major carriers here. They get kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, because in order for them to be competitive with the A220, or with the mainline carriers' smallest aircraft, which is now becoming the A220 predominantly, they need a more fuel-efficient plane, which would be the E2s, but the E2s are too big, and they can't go to the A220 themselves because the A220 is too big. So, they're stuck in between a rock and a hard place. Alright, I'm going to start grabbing this. We're going to expect 4. I'm going to preset our landing flaps to 40 here. We are expecting all reversers to be operative. 3006 is the altimeter currently. And I can at least preset that as well. One of the other things I'm really looking forward to with the new simulator is there is going to be an electronic flight bag like this on every single airplane that's in the game. That's by default in the game. I don't know the full details of it, because unfortunately I've not had any opportunity to work with the new simulator yet, but it will have an electronic flight bag. You'll also have the ability to do things like fight forest fires, and there will be an updated weather system that does more than just basic stuff like, hey, here's a thunderstorm, or hey, here's some clouds, hey, here's nothing. And for being fairly basic, this has a fairly good weather system in it already. One of the other nice parts about the new flight sim is they took everyone's complaints to heart. Everyone's complaints with 2020 was, hey, it takes ages, and I do mean ages, to get this to install and even to update in some cases. Because they are the ones who actually host all of the file, all the information themselves. So it's Microsoft that hosts everything. Even if you have it on Steam, which you can get it on Steam, you basically install the launcher, and then the launcher has to install it. And that's, like, default is like 100 and something odd gigs. It's massive with the current one. At the same time, the new one will only require 50 gigabytes of storage, unlike the nearly 200 gigabytes that 2020 requires. And that'll be a very, very good improvement. And I'm actually looking at the charts. We may not even reach cruise altitude. It's going to be cutting it close. We're not going to have a true cruise on this flight. I should have forced it to give us a lower cruising altitude than, well, flight level 370. That's the fun part about sim briefs sometimes. Sometimes it just gives you a kind of silly but realistic cruising altitude like it has here, but on a shorter flight like this, it makes no sense. We would have actually been better off at 330, which we've already climbed through. I'm going to continue this climb for now. Actually, I'm going to amend our cruise altitude down to 350, so we actually get a cruise. No, don't want to set that. Oop. I want to change that slightly. I'm also going to come into our cruise and go flight level 350. Amend that. Bingo. Easy. One big one is that altitude restriction at Ridge. We did not have a restriction of being at 270 by that point. It might have been worth continuing the climb, but unfortunately we do have a hard altitude restriction upcoming. And we already are on the arrival at this point, so this will give us just a tiny little bit of cruise. I'm not even going to bother turning off the fasten seatbelt signs. I'm actually going to work on my top of descent checklist, because there's top of descent at just over, or about 60 miles at this point, so bottom descent will be 1700. I can change this without worrying now. Should have everything else. Oh, let's arm spoilers. And I'm going to double check the VAT map here. Still nothing. Nobody's online. Nobody's controlling LaGuardia, so we will go and pull up CTAF. And that'll be 118.7. So, definitely looking forward to doing the across the pond. I've not actually done any oceanic flights at this point. big reason for that is, well, I've already mentioned the 6-hour flight time for a lot of the routes that are likely to be possible. And that's a fairly bare minimum for a subsonic airliner. Even something as big as the 777 that can go faster than we're going right now still ends up with a 6+ hour flight time. And I don't have the Concorde, so that's not even an option. Now, if I had the Concorde, that'd be much easier to do and to swing, because at that point, how it would work is well, depending on which airport I can take off, I can get take off, cruise at a subsonic speed, probably like Mach 8.84 maybe. Hit the Atlantic and get cleared to go supersonic. And then land wherever it is that I'm actually going. But I don't have Concorde. It is in the sim, but I just do not have it, and I'm not buying more marketplace aircraft right now. We're going to arm speed intervention here, which will bring us up to Mach 0.79. We do not have any speed restrictions. Technically, we do at Corey when we have to, which is at 10,000 feet. So we do have the hard restriction of no more than 250. It's no more than 250 knots below 10,000. Which is a restriction no matter where you are in the United States. Right now, my plan for across the pond is I'm not sure where I'll be departing from yet. As of right now, I have a 777 for Delta at Kennedy. That can easily be moved to Boston if necessary, if I end up having a Boston departure. Although that's going to be very hard to get because, well, something that can happen this year, A321s for JetBlue from Boston to Heathrow. Because that's a new thing. While the 321 is an aero body, it has enough legs to make it across the pond. And JetBlue does do it, or at least they are going to be. If they're not doing it already, they will be across the pond. So I'm gonna have to compete with that. I also have in Newark, which is one of the airports that'll be available. I do have a United 777. I also have a livery for Air Canada for a 777, which means I could operate that out of either Toronto or Winnipeg. Orlando, I know, is another airport that's an option, and that opens up some more 777 options. Can also probably swing a Delta A330. But I'm not comfortable doing that, doing a 6-hour flight in a plane that does not have VNAV. Or at least one, if it does have VNAV, I've not found the VNAV yet. But that one could absolutely do the across the pond too. Now, if Keflavik was an option, I could do a 737-900ER from, like, Boston to Keflavik. Because that is technically across the pond, and that is within the range of the 737NGs, like this airframe here. It's barely within the range. Odds are the return flight would have to refuel in, like, Gander. but it could theoretically do that. Similarly with like the 737 Maxes and the upcoming A321 Neo XL, or the A321 XLRs, I think it is, will also be capable of doing that particular kind of flight from East Coast airports. In fact, we already have lines with like Iceland Air and even Delta and other airlines that do operate 737s from like Detroit to Keflavik. So that's the kind of stuff I'm looking towards here. There's no guarantees that I will be participating in it. I have to figure out some logistics on it here. I don't fully know my schedule that far out just yet. But I am planning to participate in that. I'm hoping to, at least. So here we go, beginning of the descent. Top descent will be here. We'll be arriving there momentarily. Okay, we're starting to get the sunset here. One of the things I love about some of the 777 models is the winglets. As we look out the window here, this is a not 777. This is a 737-800. So this is the NG. As we look out the window here, you can actually see the split scimitars on this particular airframe. It's actually very interesting because the 737 Maxes, they have two very distinctive features. Every 737 Max has split scimitar winglets, and every 737 Max has chevrons on the engine nacelles. You can't actually use the split scimitars to distinguish 737 variants because the NGs, like the 900 and the 800, and I think even the 700s, can have split scimitar winglets. Some of the earlier models cannot. I don't even think the 600s can have the split scimitars. But you either end up with the blended winglets, which just you essentially just delete that lower winglet there that you can see out the window, and just have that top one that has the Delta widget on it. Or you have the split scimitars like this particular airframe does. I honestly really prefer the split scimitars on most liveries. I kind of wish every 737 had the split scimitar winglets. So we'll go ahead and increase speed to about 300 knots. Okay, so come on Ridgy here. Pretty cloudy today. I know there is a storm system off to the west of where we're flying here. It did rain here where I'm at, which was really good. We need a lot more rain than what we got. But for those who are not fully aware, I live actually I do live in the eastern U.S. I do live actually in the Midwest primarily. But the Ohio Valley in particular, which I do live within the Ohio Valley, the eastern portion here, we have had a very severe drought, historic levels actually. States of both West Virginia and Ohio have actually recorded exceptional drought for the first time since the drought monitor was established in the year 2000. That is the highest level of drought that you can actually have. I'm luckily not within the exceptional drought or even the extreme drought, but it is a severe drought here. I've actually been out to the local river a couple of times here. It's actually a fairly large river for the area. And I actually was standing on the riverbed earlier today. Hold on. Oh, somebody forgot to get rid of a space when they typed in their CTAF command. So that's what. So that I do know is off that way. We probably are seeing like the upper levels of that system, but it's not going to be a major factor here. So, and the good news is that's not going to be a factor here tonight. Hopefully again there does end up being more systems like this one that come through the region, because in particular it's Ohio and West Virginia that really need the rain. Hopefully we do get some, but hopefully it doesn't come all at once. But again, the sooner we get it, the better. It's kind of been nice I kind of wish I could get out a little bit more and do like more outside, especially at night, because having a drought like this does help with mosquitoes. It can be really nasty here with the mosquitoes during a normal summer, but it can help out a lot. But yeah, I was on the actual riverbed today and able to stay dry. Almost could have crossed the river where I was at without getting wet. Not quite, but it was getting close. And I know earlier in the week when I went to another portion of the river, I actually could have gone all the way to an island without getting wet. I do actually have a drone, and I do have some footage from both trips that I do need to post on YouTube. I do have the first trip's footage on my computer currently. I do still have to get the stuff from today off of the drone, but I've been extremely tired today. Luckily, I'll be able to get some rest before I have to work tomorrow. And I'll definitely be able to get some rest before I have to go in on what normally is my day off for a meeting at work. And I don't necessarily have to go in for that meeting, but I'm opting to go in. So I'm going to start getting our calculations going here for our landing. Pressure has fallen a couple of points. Yeah, we're going to maintain landing on runway 4. Wonder where that British Airways flight is. They're on the ground. They're a 787-10. They're on the ground at Newark. I was expecting them to be in the air since they were doing a CTAF command with an extra space added in. So at this point we are flying over. We're actually flying just east of the DC metro area. Can't actually quite see it, but actually I think we can barely make it out. That should be down there where the bridge was earlier this year that got hit in the Baltimore area, I believe. No, that's Wilmington. Okay, we're even further east than I thought. But regardless, this is the DC. Yeah, Baltimore's a bit further east. It's actually going to be like way off that way. I kind of can't wait for the West Coast. It's very, very scenic out there. I did a flight recently from Seattle to Sacramento in I think it was another 800 as well. that departure, beautiful view of Mount Rainier, as well as the Three Sisters. It's absolutely beautiful out west. Kind of cannot wait to see just what kind of justice the new sim does with things like Mount Rainier once you are able to use things like RTX settings. Because the new sim will support ray tracing. So that'll be very, very impressive to see. Alright, so we're coming up on Bessie here. We will be, looks like we should be crossing over our transition altitude by the time we get to Bessie. So we'll switch over, be ready to switch over to local altimeter. That'll give us a VREF of 144. It's a bit hot for that landing. Beautiful sunset now. There's 180, so we're going to do the transition altitude. And then I'm going to start slowing us down in preparation for being at 250. Actually, let's go 290 now. Let's go 290 at Bessie. I want to get 240 knots at Corey. Xbox, you can go away. Bring it back to 280. So how I'm going to operate a lot of these flights here, and this is going to be something we're going to see, you may see multiple times here. If we do not have ATC, speed will be my discretion, depending on the arrival. This arrival does not actually have speed restrictions, meaning it's fully at my discretion. I'm typically going to try to maintain a speed of no more than 300 knots once we transition from Mach number. And I'm going to typically try to reduce speed by no more than 10 knots at a time. Now, if we have ATC, we will go with assigned airspeeds. Although we do have that hard restriction of 250 below, at or below. Oh, jeez. That. Yeah, there's the hard airspeed restriction of 250 knots at or below 10,000. And that's the one we're maintaining here. Actually, we're going to go back to 280. no, we actually are through the waypoint I wanted to be at 270, or 283, so we're good. So Davies, I want 270. Holly will be slowing down to 260. And then Corey is 10,000 foot restriction. We should pick up DME here in about 40 miles. So we'll start getting our distance to airport. Once we get to 250 knots, I can actually start dropping flaps. And that should help us with a little bit of drag as well. So we're going to go flaps 5. And this is where it becomes very important for us here that we do maintain speed intervention here, because the LNAV has presets for each flap level. So we'd be going closer to 210 knots already if I was on letting VNAV control it. And we're going to reduce speed to 240. Okay. Which of these waypoints are we not using again? I think it's Renew is the first one we don't use. If that's the case, we'll know in a minute here. So I want to be doing 210 knots by the time we get to final. So we're going to come up here, landing lights on, runway turnoffs on, and let's bring the logo back on. Yes, we're going to come through 10,000 feet. Yeah, so by Jersey we want to be 210s, 220, So after Deputy, we will reduce our speed again. Yeah, I like to do these 10 knot decreases, and you'll notice it's a lot of waypoints I'm going to be using for these. Actually, we need to be at 200 knots by Vera's, which is actually very doable with these steps I'm going to be doing. So Deputy is our last one at 240, and then we'll reduce speed to 230. Yeah, we are starting to get into the heavily populated. Actually, that's Trenton, Robbinsville, so that's Trenton, New Jersey, right over that way. So we are currently passing by our alternate airport in Philadelphia. Up ahead will be the heavily populated New York City Metro. Got a good blanket of clouds currently. I love how it says it's VFR conditions. There's Deputy. That's direct heights. Which is very close to where we're at. In fact, we can barely make out Staten Island already. Just off the port side of our nose. We're 40 miles from the airport. Alright, we're going to decelerate to 220. Just going to bring down our HUD here. I'm going to start preparing to take control. We're going to still be 144 knots for VREF. Okay. But yeah, we're starting to get everything into view here. Got Newark, New Jersey off over there. Staten Island right there. Long Island up ahead in the clouds. And the left white dot is likely going to be Manhattan Island area, but it's hard to say. Might even be that right one. That left one might even be Newark. It might even be one of the other airports, because there's a lot of airports in here. And once we're at 210 knots, we will go ahead and drop flaps to 10. Flaps 10. Now, any more flaps, we will actually require having gear down. I believe I see the runway. Yes, that's Manhattan Island, that one on the left. There's Newark. Kennedy is almost directly ahead. those white flashing lights dead center up there are going to be LaGuardia. That's actually our runway. Waiting to pick up DME from the ILS, and then I'll switch over to CTAF. I think I see British Airways over there. Where is DME? We want the distance. We need that distance, actually. 0.5. That's correct. There it is. Okay. Whoa. And our sim's loading. There we go. Right one, yep. LaGuardia traffic Delta 5236 on approach runway ILS 4 LaGuardia. Turn on localizer mode. Capture the localizer. Arm approach mode. That'll let us capture the glide slope once it comes up. Slowing to 180. Try and keep an eye out for traffic. Okay, there's the glide slope. Yes, the Staten Island's right there. Manhattan's right there. Statue of Liberty is that white dot about dead center. That might be British Airways up there, those blinking lights. LaGuardia traffic, Delta 5236 on 10-mile final, runway 4, LaGuardia. We're actually under the glide slope currently. Let's go flaps 15. Actually, we can go flaps 30. No, we can't quite do flaps 30. We're going to reduce speed to 160. Because we're still chasing the glide slope at this point. It's flaps 30. I'd prefer it to capture that glide slope before I take manual control in less than in just under 2 miles. Flaps are full. Down to 150 knots. And there's the glide slope. LaGuardia traffic, Delta 5236 on 5-mile final for runway 4, LaGuardia. And we are full manual control. Throttles are mine. Controls are mine.
Approaching minimums. Minimums. $100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
That was not as good as I wanted, but it works. 2 in reverse. 60 knots, disengage, and we can actually take this high-speed exit. That looks to be Quebec. LaGuardia traffic, Delta 5236, clear of runway 4, LaGuardia. Alright, let's begin our post-landing checklist. We are on Quebec. These lights can all come off. We'll go ahead and turn APU on. Transponder to standby. wipers can come off. Auto brake can go off as well. We're going to plan for gate 67, I think. So that'll be Golf. Let's do Golf Bravo. Golf Bravo Lima is the ramp. LaGuardia traffic, Delta 5236, taxiing to gate 67 via Quebec, Golf, Bravo, Lima Alpha to the ramp. LaGuardia. Okay, so here's going to be Bravo. We're going to take this all the way down to Lima. This is an airport I know the layout has not changed too much, so we're going to be fairly safe here. Pretty sure that building just a little bit off, about dead center actually, is about where we're going to be parking. So we're just passing Juliet. We're coming up on Kilo. There's Kilo. Next one is Lima. Lima. That's where we're parking. We're gonna briefly join Alpha. And now we're off of Alpha. Then let's go ahead and back out of here. Second gate on the left is ours. So there's the first one. Some of these gates actually don't exist in real life. This one should be about right, though. Looks to be it. When I look at Navigator, it says Charlie 38. We are parked. Back inside. Shut off the left and right engines. Hopefully that took flaps to up. Shut down fuel pumps. Taxi lights off. Over to ground power. APU off. APU bleed, we'll go ahead and turn off engine bleed. We'll also turn the gas off. Window heat and pitot heat all off. Do hit our jetway. At least we should at this point. Go up top and we will turn off IRS. Turn off the fasten seatbelt and no smoking. Flaps are up, so turn off these guys. Battery off. Emergency exits off. Ground power off. Whoop, I forgot one thing, which now I can't find. Oh well. Having the transponder is still in standby does not matter without power, so hopefully everyone enjoyed that flight here. We are now on the ground at LaGuardia, cold and dark, in PMBG 737-800. Next time we fly this particular airframe, I'll go ahead and get us some daytime here. Next time this particular airframe does move, it will be heading to Cincinnati. And then after Cincinnati, it's heading out to Boston. So that's the plan for this guy. Love it or hate this livery. We're gonna be flying it a bit more here, so I'm gonna be closing out at all the airport, or all the, not airports, I wish I had enough time. I wish it was theoretically possible to take a 737 to all of the airports Delta operates into and out of, but seeing as though they operate into Australia and other airports that are far-flung, it's not actually a possibility, not in a 7-3, but nice. Yeah, I just got this bird out of our RDU, so beautiful airport. I'm not sure how well the scenery is, the default scenery is at least, but just got this bird on the ground in LaGuardia, basically taking this one between all the Delta hubs at least, as well as the focus cities. But next stop for this bird is actually going to be Cincinnati in about a week here. So I'm looking forward to getting that flight done here. Also really looking forward to the upcoming simulator here, which the last flight I'm planning to do the last flight for this particular airframe in this little series of flights in 2024. I already have it pre-installed and ready to go. I have it pre-ordered. So I cannot wait for that to come out. Looks amazing. Also, kind of can't wait to get my new computer up and running, but that's going to be probably at this point sometime next year. I was hoping to have that this year though, but that'll be sometime next year. So, absolutely love the simulator. Loving the aircraft as well from PMDG. So, gonna definitely do more. I do need to get some flights in. I want to probably do a 777 stream before Across the Pond comes up, because I'm planning as of right now to participate in Across the Pond. Going to have to figure out some things with work though, and if I do participate in Across the Pond, I will plan on streaming that. It's just I need to work on logistics for that and see what's available once I can actually select a specific slot for Across the Pond. So that's coming up. I know 19th of October is Across the Pond, so that's my plan with that. Regardless, I'm going to be continuing these once weekly at least, getting this airframe moved from hub to hub for Delta. I want to get a group flight in later this week again. I did not get a chance to stream one. I didn't actually truly get a group flight in this week. I do typically try to do a group flight semi-regularly with some friends. One of them at least does VATSIM as well. The other guys I'm kind of working on it. One of them I basically plan, I think, with one of them is we're going to be doing probably like some test flights with airliners with him. I don't know if I'm going to stream that, but I'm looking forward to getting a chance again to fly the A330neo. Might even test fly one of my 777s, because I have a few 777 liveries I've not actually flown yet. So definitely planning to do this again here in a week from today. Get this one from Cincinnati, or up over to Cincinnati from LaGuardia here. Hopefully I'll get another flight in, preferably a group flight, either Thursday night or Friday night. Just depends on what ends up happening this week. Might try to do something Tuesday as well. That's the other day that I tend to do some stuff as well. But I need to go get myself some rest before I have to work. Luckily I work the evenings, so I can get plenty of rest before I have to work. So hope everyone has a great rest of your evening, or day, evening, night, wherever you are. And I will see you guys next time.